The Galactic Combat Academy's training hall stretched across 300 meters of polished titanium flooring, its ceiling lost in shadows despite the floating luminescent orbs that dotted the space. Instructor Krevthal, a 7-foot-tall Zenthari warrior with scales that shimmered like oil on water, stood before the assembled class of recruits from 17 different species. Today, his translator collar rendered his clicking mandibles into perfect galactic standard. We discussed the fundamental limitations of bipedal combat forms. Elsa stood among the other recruits, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, gray eyes tracking the instructor's every movement. The human woman had been at the academy for 3 months now, one of only 5 humans among the 300 students. She'd learned quickly that humanity's reputation preceded them, the species that had clawed their way into the galactic community through sheer stubborn refusal to quit. Beside her, Zia shifted his weight, his muscular frame tense with barely contained energy. The young man had been Elsa's sparring partner since day one, and she'd learned to read his body language like a book. Right now he was itching for action. Krevthal activated a holographic display, showing various species wielding different weapons. Each species in the known galaxy fights according to their physiological design. The Zenthari use our tail as a primary weapon. The Vextor employ their forearms. The crystalline Shardlings project energy blades from their limbs. He paused, his compound eyes sweeping across the recruits. But there is one universal truth that transcends species. No bipedal organism can effectively dual-wield melee weapons. Elsa felt Zia stiffen beside her. The neural pathways required, Krevthal continued, the split-second decision-making, the independent limb coordination. It is biologically impossible for a 2-armed species to maintain combat effectiveness with 2 separate weapons. This has been proven across 10,000 years of documented warfare. Instructor, Zia's voice cut through the hall before Elsa could stop him. Permission to speak? Krevthal's scales rippled with what the humans had learned was amusement. The human wishes to challenge established scientific fact? Not challenge, sir. Demonstrate otherwise. The hall fell silent. 300 beings from 17 worlds turned to stare at the audacious human who dared contradict their instructor. Krevthal's mandibles clicked in a pattern the translator didn't bother interpreting, probably laughter. Very well. Retrieve 2 practice blades from the armory. Zia moved with purpose, returning moments later with 2 curved swords, each about 30 inches long. The weapons were designed to simulate the weight and balance of real blades while being incapable of causing lethal injury, though they could still hurt like hell. Elsa, Zia said quietly, you ready? She stepped forward without hesitation. They'd done this dance before, back on Earth, in the underground combat leagues where humanity had kept their warrior traditions alive, even in an age of plasma rifles and orbital bombardment, always. Krevthal gestured to the center of the training floor. You will spar against Cadet Elsa. Show us this dual-wielding that supposedly defies biology. Zia walked to the center, a blade in each hand. He rolled his shoulders, loosened his wrists, and fell into a stance that would have looked familiar to any practitioner of Earth's ancient sword arts. His left foot forward, knees bent, both blades held at 45-degree angles, one high, one low. Elsa drew her own single blade, a longer weapon that required both hands. She'd seen Zia fight dozens of times, but something was different now. He wasn't just representing himself. He was representing humanity. Begin, Krevthal commanded. Elsa struck first, a testing thrust toward Zia's center line. His right blade deflected it with minimal movement, while his left blade came in low, forcing her to retreat. The speed was startling, each hand moving independently, creating a web of steel that seemed impossible to penetrate. She pressed harder, launching a combination that would have overwhelmed most single-blade fighters. Zia's blades became a blur. His right hand parried high while his left struck low. His left defended while his right attacked. The blades moved in complementary arcs, creating defensive coverage that seemed to violate physics. Around them, the recruits watched in stunned silence as Zia demonstrated what 10,000 years of galactic combat theory said was impossible. His footwork was precise, his breathing controlled, and his blades moved as if they were extensions of his thoughts rather than separate objects requiring coordination. Elsa increased the pressure, her own considerable skill pushing Zia to his limits. But for every opening she created, one of his blades was there to close it. For every attack she launched, he had a response with the opposite hand. Then Zia went on the offensive. His blades came alive, moving in a pattern that seemed choreographed but was pure combat instinct honed by thousands of hours of practice. High-low, left-right slash thrust, the combinations flowed like water, each hand setting up opportunities for the other. Elsa found herself retreating, her single blade struggling to track two separate threats that moved with perfect coordination. The clash of practice blades echoed through the hall for another minute before Elsa tapped out, touching her blade to the floor in the universal sign of yield. She was grinning despite her rapid breathing. Zia lowered his blades, chest heaving but eyes bright with triumph. Krevthal approached slowly, his scales rippling through colors the humans had never seen before. I have no classification for what that was. On Earth, Zia said, his voice steady despite his exertion. We call it Miyamoto Musashi's two-heaven style. We call it Renaissance rapier and dagger fighting. We call it Escrima's double-stick techniques. He looked around at the assembled recruits. We call it humanity refusing to accept the word impossible. But the neural coordination required. A Vextor recruit clicked, its forearms gesturing in confusion. The centuries of evolutionary adaptation. We don't have centuries, Elsa interjected, stepping beside Zia. We're a species that learned to split atoms before we left our planet. We wrote symphonies and painted masterpieces while we were still killing each other with sharpened metal. Our entire evolutionary history is defined by one simple principle. Zia finished her thought, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. Define can't. Krevthal stood silent for a long moment, his compound eyes studying the two humans. Finally, his scales settled into a deep blue that the translator interpreted as respect. It seems the Academy's curriculum requires updating. Humans, you will demonstrate these techniques to the class. Perhaps we have much to learn from a species too stubborn to accept biological limitations. As the class erupted into excited chatter, and Krevthal began restructuring the day's lesson plan, Elsa leaned toward Zia and whispered, "You know you're teaching 300 aliens how to dual-wield now, right?" Zia grinned, tossing one of his practice blades and catching it. "Good. Let the galaxy learn what happens when you tell a human something is impossible." And in that moment, in a training hall light years from Earth, humanity once again proved why they'd earned their place among the stars. Not through superior biology or ancient technology, but through the simple, stubborn refusal to accept that anything was beyond their reach.